What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am DL here with another movie review. It is the month of the Hunger Games. We're going back and talking about all four Hunger Games films leading up to The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is going to be out in theaters in less than a couple weeks. I've already talked about the original Hunger Games, so if you guys haven't seen my review for that, I'll put a link in the description below so you guys can watch it. But today we're continuing on talking about the second installment of the Hunger Games, Catching Fire. Let's get into it. So if you guys have seen my review for the original Hunger Games, you guys would know that I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. It did not blow me away. I didn't love it, but I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff in the first film. I thought the characterizations were pretty good. I thought the overall world building was fairly interesting, even though I wish they dove into it a little bit more. And the overall concept of the Hunger Games, I thought was a really cool concept. Once again, that's another thing I wish that they dove more into. But overall, I think this is a really solid start to the franchise. So I said with the first film that I didn't go see it in theaters because it didn't really pique my interest when it was first coming out. And a lot of my friends who are Hunger Games fans, they were disappointed I didn't go see this in the theater. So much so that when Catching Fire came out, there was like, no, we're going to take you to the theater this time to go see it. Like, we're not going to let you miss it this time. And I was like, okay, fine, I will go see this in the theater. I mean, when the marketing came out for Catching Fire, once again, it didn't look bad. It looked pretty similar to the first film. So it's like, once again, like, I probably wasn't gonna miss the second one in the theater, because I was a little more interested after the first film, but like, it probably wasn't something I was gonna go see opening weekend. I'll be really honest. But regardless of that, my friends did take me to go see this in the theater. So, I was like, all right, you know what? Since you guys want to take me, I will go see it. I will give it a shot. I don't think I'm going to completely waste my time with this one since I did enjoy the first film. So I'm pretty much expecting a similar quality with the first film. And after watching it the first time in theaters, I'm glad that they actually did drag me to the theater because I ended up loving Catching Fire. I thought it was great. I did not expect this movie to be as good as it was. Whenever I hear fans of the books or fans of the movies talk about Catching Fire, a lot of them consider this to be the best one. And I have to agree. Now, of course, the typical comparison with this movie is that it's the Empire Strikes Back of the Hunger Games. And yeah, that is true. However, I think a more apt comparison would be that it's the Terminator 2 Judgment Day of Hunger Games. Because if you look at Catching Fire face value, it does play out very similarly to the first film. It does a lot of the exact same beats, and some people even say that this movie feels kind of like a rehash, and they're not completely wrong. But what this movie does is that it takes everything that the first movie did and makes it better. The stakes are higher, the themes are darker, the characters are more developed, the world is more fleshed out. I even thought the direction of this movie was a lot better than it was in the first film. Francis Lawrence came in to direct the rest of the franchise after Gary Ross did the first film, and I thought he did a great job with this movie. One of my biggest criticisms with the first film was how it was shot. I didn't like all the shaky cam and the quick edits and the close-ups, but in this movie, there was none of that. For one thing, the cinematography looks a lot better than it did in the first film. This feels a lot more cinematic. This feels a lot more massive in scope. And I could actually tell what was going on with the action scenes in this movie. And when people are standing around and talking, the camera's not shaking around. It just felt like it's a lot better directed in this film than it was in the first. And I definitely appreciated that. Once again, the characters are great. Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss Everdeen, I thought she was once again really great, and in ways I think that she's better in here than she was in the first movie, because you're seeing the ramifications of what she had to deal with in the first Hunger Games. Is that now she's dealing with PTSD from having to kill other kids in the first Hunger Games, which is something that she's never done before. She's never killed anyone, let alone kill somebody doing the stuff that she loves, using a bow and arrow. Like she's had to use that to kill other people to survive, and now you're seeing that she's dealing with the trauma with that. She's getting nightmares. Whenever she's hunting, she's starting to get PTSD from that. She's getting anxiety attacks. So I like to see that there's ramifications from the Hunger Games that's bleeding into this film. Just it's emphasizing the fact of how traumatic these games are and how wrongly Panem is treating everyone that's getting selected for these games. And another thing with President Snow, man, President Snow is, God, he's such a scumbag in this movie, and I loved it. You get more of a presence from him in this film. In the first movie, he was there, but he didn't have a lot of scenes. This one, we get to see a lot more of Snow, and then we're starting to see them build the rivalry between Snow and Katniss. And Snow is like aware that people are starting to see Katniss as like the beacon of a possible rebellion against Panem, and he wants to do everything that he can to put down Katniss without making it seem like he's a dictator. He doesn't want to get his hands dirty, because he could easily just have soldiers, be sent to District 12 and just, kill Katniss. But like he didn't want, any blood on his hands. So he strategically is trying to find a way to do stuff diplomatically to, bring down Katniss, whether it's ruin her reputation or find other ways for people to, kill her without, having it directly be connected to him. So it's like, I love how smart President Snow is. He's such a tactician, and like he's such a diplomat at the same time, or he pretends to be one. And it's just like, I love how he's just playing mind games with everyone, and he's like 5 steps ahead from everyone else. And, he could tell when there are games being played, or when people are trying to get the upper hand on him. Like he always is suspicious about everything. And that's why I think he's a very effective villain in this franchise. And as far as like the other characters, they're also really good. Josh Hutcherson is Peeta. I liked him in this movie. Like he's pretty much similar to how he was in the first film. Like I really do feel for him because once again, he's put in a situation where, he's never been in before. He's not a fighter. He's not a hunter. He's not a killer, especially. He's just a baker, as I said. And like in this movie, I just feel for him that he has to be put in these like very traumatic situations where like he's one of the people that like people are expecting him to die first in the Hunger Games because he's not as resourceful as Katniss, but like the whole time I'm just rooting for him to stay alive. And once again, I love that they're building the relationship between Peeta and Katniss in this. You feel like they're a lot closer than they were in the first film, because in the first movie, I mean, they respected each other enough, but like you felt like they had to be close with each other just to play up a persona whenever they are, being interviewed by Panem, or like they have to show an image that they love each other for publicity or whatever. So like you could tell it was kind of an act that they didn't fully love each other. But in this one, they actually spent time to get to know each other and, actually become friends. And there's a possibility that they may feel more than friends. I think it's more than just possibility. I think they do actually have feelings for each other, but it's kind of a complicated situation given everything that's going on. And then also you have this whole love triangle too with Gale. Once again, I thought Gale was fine in this. I didn't think they really did much with his character here that we haven't seen already in the first film. Like we don't get to know him more as a person, which is why, at first I thought it would have been interesting to see this love triangle play out if we got to know more about Gale, but we don't. So now I'm starting to feel like I'm rooting more for Peeta and Katniss to be a couple than Gale. I don't know if it's different story in the books, if they develop his character more in the books, but from face value, seeing this in the movie, it felt a little lackluster. But, Gale, I don't think he's bad. I think he's fine. But I care more about Peeta and Katniss. Woody Harrelson is Haymitch. Once again, I thought he was great. It seems like he's more open in this movie than he was in the last film. Like he's starting to, care more about Peeta and Katniss's well-being. He's not drinking as much in this movie. He's still drinking, but like you feel like he's taking stuff a little more seriously with them now, which I like to see. And same thing with Effie, played by Elizabeth Banks. I thought she was kind of weird in the first movie, but and this one she's still kind of weird. She still has those eccentric outfits. She still, is a little over the top with her delivery, but like I feel like very similar to Haymitch that we starting to see more of the humanity from her. You could tell that she does care about PETA and Candace as well, and she's doing her best to make sure that they come out of this looking good in front of the publicity of Panem. So it's like it's not like she has a certain agenda or like she's 100% for Panem, because you could tell that she's not. You could tell that she actually cares for the well-being of some people, I would say. But yeah, I did think Effie was pretty good in this. And then I also liked Lenny Kravitz as Cena. Once again, I thought he was really good. I'm just surprised how much I like Lenny Kravitz in this movie. I did not expect for him to be this good as an actor, but I really like him in this movie, and I do like the relationship that he has with Katniss as well. I wish we had more time with him, honestly. Like, he's not in it like a whole lot. It's very similar with the first film. He's not in it a whole lot, but the scenes that he is in it, he is memorable to me, So I definitely like his character as well. And getting more to the newcomers of this movie, we have a new designer for the Hunger Games. We have Plutarch. I hope I said his name right. Plutarch, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. I mean, it's Philip Seymour Hoffman. What do you want me to say? He's great. He's great in everything that he's in, and he's great here. I will say that he's not exactly like playing a character here. He's pretty much playing himself, but it works. It works in this movie, and I didn't think it would work as well as it did. But like it's Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's not too much I could say about him. I thought he was really good, and at first I thought since he is the designer of the Hunger Games that he was just going to be like a one-dimensional antagonist, and just blindly serving Snow, but like there's more dimension with him as well, that more than I expected actually, and that was a big surprise. There's a lot more layers to him than I thought, and it ends up being expanded upon as the franchise goes on. I don't want to spoil too much, but I actually did really like him in this movie as well. And one other thing that I appreciated that I thought was a bit underwhelming in the first film is that the Hunger Games in this film is a lot more expansive than it was in the first film. And also we get to know more about the participants in the Hunger Games, because outside of Katniss and PETA in the first film, and Rue, like all the other participants in the Hunger Games, like you didn't really get to know them as characters. They just just felt like cannon fodder for the most part. But in this one, I like that we got to see more characterization, especially because we get to see a little bit more from the districts. We actually get to see the other districts in the movie, which is something I wish they did in the first film. Now, I still wish that they dove more into what makes all the districts different from each other. I mean, the only indication you got was from the Hunger Games participants. They had their own skills and gimmicks. But like, as far as like, I still wanted to know more about the other districts themselves, even though we got to see them more in this movie. But going to the other participants, like I liked that the other winners of the Hunger Games, because this time around, Snow was forcing a 75th Hunger Games where winners of previous Hunger Games are coming back to participate in this one. And so once again, you're seeing Snow and Panem just twisting the rules every time to convenience them, and that just makes them more and more scummier. And I like that. I like how dirty Panem plays with the rules of the Hunger Games. But yeah, going to the actual participants, Sam Claflin as Finnick, I really liked him in this movie. At first you could tell, we thought that he was just going to be the pompous, playboy, narcissist type, and that's what he plays up at first. But as the movie goes on, you could tell that he has a heart of gold, and it's like that actually made me care about his character a little bit more, because he's not just out for himself, and we actually find out that he has something that he's fighting for with these Hunger Games. He's fighting to survive, to be with the love of his life. So I actually really liked that. It was very compelling. And then you have Jenna Malone as Jonah, and I thought she was actually hilarious in this. I really, really liked it. Now, what I really appreciated about this film too is that while this is a darker story than the first film, it's not afraid to have some fun. It's not afraid to have some moments of levity and in some humor here and there to to break some of the like really dark, intense moments of this film. And Jenna Malone's character, I thought, was the catalyst for that. Like, she has some of the funniest moments in the movie, but also has one of the most tragic, backstories of this film, because she was also a winner of the Hunger Games, and she was promised that if she won the Hunger Games, that she would never have to participate in them ever again. And then we see that they dragged her back in, and you could see psychologically, while she is trying to hide it with being witty and having dark humor here and there, you could tell that it's actually getting to her psychologically and mentally. Like, she's really angry at the fact that she has to deal with this traumatic Hunger Games again. So it's like, I actually kind of felt for her as well. And then we have Jeffrey Wright as BT. I hope I said his name right, but yeah, I thought he was really good too. Now, he is the brains, while other participants are using brute force and their hunting skills or whatever. Like, BT is actually a pacifist, and like, he is like the smartest of the group. And he using his science and his wits to outsmart the other participants and survive the Hunger Games. So I really, really like that. I like that the participants have their own different gimmicks and their own different skill sets to help them survive the Hunger Games. While there's people that use different weaponry, like Finnick uses like this trident or whatever. There was even like this chick that filed her teeth sharp so she could be able to rip people's necks off, and I'm like, dang, that's some hardcore shit right there. Like, this is the type of stuff that I wanted to see from the first film. This just makes it more interesting and more creative. And as far as creativity, like, the Hunger Games in this felt a lot more cooler than it was in the first film. Like, they had electric force fields. They have like this underwater arena in the middle of it. They have like these mutant baboons. They have like these birds that that have like audio voices of the loved ones and the family and friends of the participants. When the birds are flying around, like, you hear audio from their loved ones, and like, that goes to another one of Katniss's PTSD that she had to deal with when those birds were using her sister's voice. And like, that's like some really crazy stuff right there. So I definitely appreciate that the Hunger Games were a lot more creative in this one, because in the first film it just felt like a generic forest and with some mutant dogs in there. But in this one, they had a lot more stuff going on in the Hunger Games. And going back to the comparison that this is the Empire Strikes Back of the Hunger Games, the shocking twist that they have at the end here, like, it definitely helped to set up the rebellion between the districts and Panem. Like, and I think it also helped to build more motivation for Katniss to join the rebellion because of what happens at the end, for something very shocking and traumatic happening to her towards the end. And I'm for it. When it comes to cliffhangers in films, like, it could go either way. Some people don't like the cliffhanger stuff. Like, there's this whole debate about part ones and part twos, which we will talk about when we get to the Mockingjay films. But as far as like, if you see all the four of these movies individually, there's an argument to be made that like, these movies don't stand well on their own. Like, this feels like one massive story, all four of these films, and I think it's effective here. Because every movie has a cliffhanger, and it just helps to build more to the eventual final confrontation that we have. So I was for the the cliffhanger at the end. I was actually in it. But overall, man, I thought this movie was great. I did not expect for this to be this great, and I'm pleasantly surprised. This is the type of movie where I feel like if they keep going towards this trajectory, it could be on a similar level with Harry Potter. If the sequels consistently be as strong as this, like, I now see why people love the Hunger Games just as much as something like Harry Potter and Twilight. Like, the storytelling in here is undoubtedly really, really strong in here. As I said, the characters are more fleshed out in here. The world building is more fleshed out. The villain is a lot more imposing. I just love the all the setup to with the districts and their eventual revolt against Panem. The Hunger Games itself I thought was more interesting and it's a lot more creative. I thought the participants in the Hunger Games got development and you got to see their different skill sets and their motivations as characters. I really like that. The action, the cinematography is a lot better here. There's no quick cuts, shaky cam, none of that. Like the action was a lot better directed. The cinematography feels a lot more massive. Just overall, this is a great movie. This is my favorite in the Hunger Games franchise, and it made me excited to see more. So overall, I will give the Hunger Games Catching Fire an A minus. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Catching Fire. What did you guys think about it? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was okay? How does this compare to the other Hunger Games movies? Did you think this was a good adaptation from the book? If you're not a fan of the books, did you enjoy this film? Comment your thoughts down below and let me know. So the next Hunger Games film I will be talking about is Mockingjay Part 1. So tune in for that when it comes out. But if you guys enjoyed this review, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And please hit the bell if you want to be notified on future videos I'll be doing. But that's all I have for you Hunger Games fans, and I will see you guys next time. Talk to you guys later, and may the odds forever be in your favor.